So, welcome everyone. We'll get to the first walkthrough for season 18. Will be Paul Ricard, and for those of you that was here in previous season, we'll do the same thing. And for those of you who are new, what we do, we'll go to the track. We'll go full speed with the inside view. Then we'll do the lap again from the outside, so you have a better chance to look at the line. And then after that, we'll go corner by corner, and then I will explain my best possible to explain. Then we'll go. We'll talk about breaking point line. What you anything that will help you uh, trying to get faster at the track. So let's start with the inside view uh, for the lap. All right, and then we'll go back. And we'll
I have a one question.
yep.
When you break into two and one, you see how you go over that curve? Whenever I break right there, I like lock up. How do you not lock up there?
Mm, we'll do the lap and then we'll go after it.
Okay.
So we'll go back the same lap from the outside view and this time take a look at the line and how much track I will use uh, for a lot of the turn on Paul Ricard. Right. So that was a 152.9, and now we're
Madness.
gonna go back at the start and we'll go corner to corner. So to come back to how I don't lock up in if I go on the curve, like this one, you mean?
Oh yeah, I think I figured out. You break after the curb. I was breaking on the curb.
No, when I'm from the inside view. So let's go turn one. So you want to use, I mean, the McLaren for this season, probably a lot of car that could handle that curve well for braking. Shouldn't be too much of a problem. If you're logging, maybe you could play with brake bias. I don't know if brake bias or ABS you're using might be something to try on different car. So what I'm using for my braking reference, so keep in mind that the braking reference that I will tell you this for me, for this car, my setup, my field of view, like setup from what I'm playing on the VR, so it will be different if you're playing on a screen or another type of VR, or if you're playing on the dash cam or chase view, all those could change. So just keep in mind that it's a reference, that's something for you to start, but you'll need to explore how much you could push or how much you need to brake earlier. McLaren doesn't really have a good brake, so probably all the other car brake pretty much at the same place, but it's always something that you'll need to try to by yourself with your car, and if you do trail braking to help reduce the distance and all that, but if you don't, you should be able to still be close, relatively close to those braking reference. So coming on to turn one, what I'm using here is already a bit on, yeah, my big, when I start pushing more, it's like close to the 100 meter, or you have the road that's coming the other layout on your right. So just a little bit before that, this is where I'm gonna start to brake. As you can see, I'm on the curve as much as possible on the right side. And they are pretty flat. They're not too bumpy. As you can see, tire will be right tire will be on this part, so it's even flatter on this one, and then your left tire should be like on the white line, because if you're passing the white line, will be the invalidate lap. So you have one tire on the asphalt and the other one is on the flat one, so it should be okay. There's a bump when you have around here. You could have a little bump, but shouldn't be too bad. So let's look. So those cone around will be going like after formation lap almost. So you you should, when you start your practice and they are there, you should hit them when you brake. If you go slowly, you'll see like first one, second, third, and fourth, still braking, starting to turn the car, and you'll see I'm gonna release the brake soon, starting to release it.
I have a question, Michael.
Yep.
Um, when it comes to actual the race, are you still supposed to be that wide on entry?
You could use it if there's no one coming out of the pit. You
Okay,
could still use it. It's fine.
okay,
It's not a if it's not a track cut. There's you could use it still.
Or if there's not someone close enough behind you to try to tempt them down the inside. Because like that speed only is possible because he's using so much track width, which
hmm
means the entry has to be wide. So if you're, let's say there's a car directly behind you trying to like draft and get next to you, they can just decide not to brake and roll up next to you, stopping you from turning. So
okay,
you have to be a little mindful about not just leaving the door open to entice them to just kind of roll down the inside and park it so that you're stuck. So you got to be mindful of that.
Yeah,
all
no,
right.
it'll be racing. If it's clear around you, you could use it, no problem. With someone, you need to be careful what's surrounding you. So coming to turn one, your small uh, this will be like your apex, and it's also it will be gone really fast. This one is also one, and track limit here, it's the yellow sausage that you have on the left, so you don't want to go on this because lap will be invalidated, but you want to go like right to the edge. We'll see the car right here. Let's go slowly. You'll see going like almost touch it, like right at the edge. So that will be like your apex. So when you get here, you want, since we have this type of corner here, so left right pretty fast, every time we have those type of corner, you want to compromise your exit of the first one. So in this case turn one, so you want to exit no further like middle, and because you want to have a better exit on corner 2 here, so that's where we're gonna gain time. If you go too wide on turn 1, you're gonna end up slowing way too much for turn 2, and then you have a small straight after that that go to turn 3, you're gonna lose time all the way down there. So be careful, you need to have a good time, you need to push here, but turn 1 and 2 could make or gain a lot of time or lose a lot of time just because of this. If you push in too much from here, you're just gonna have a really poor exit for turn 2 and then use like a bunch of time there. Let's go for the inside. So I'm just at the apex right now, so I'm gonna go throttle and let the car go, and then I go back on throttle here, so exit like middle of the track. And for this car here, so I'm gonna start to turn, aiming again. I'm going to aim to that yellow little pillar that's there. It's not going to be there for long, but at least when you're starting your practice, you could at least see it. That will be like your apex. But you see, as you can see, I'm already on full throttle. There's a corner. So what I will do here for this car, I will short shift to 3, lift a bit when I get here, then get back on throttle after that to finish the corner. Let's go slowly, starting to turn, and when I get close to the apex, shift, release, and riding that curve and back on throttle. It was just a small lift. We'll run it full speed after, and you'll be able to quick the lift there. And on the exit, you want to use as much track as possible, and your track limit here as those square, if you touch those, the white and red board, those are not destructible, so if you touch it, you're invalidate your lap. It's a guarantee, so don't touch it. Like you see here, get close, really close. I guess you could touch it. Like the rear tire touch it a bit on this lap. So, but it's probably really limit this one. I thought you could not touch it, but it's clearly touching a bit. So this is how you want to do turn 1. So let's go by, and we're gonna look at that full speed and take a look at the input. So throttle, brake, steering, and be careful on turn 2. Check the lift, how quick it's going to do it. So as you can see, it's really quick lift. Some cars, people like to stay in second here.
Second would have done it with auto.
But that's depend on the car. You could stay on second gear and short shift to 3, and some people will shift to the third sooner than what I did. It's just something that you will need to try.
Hey, Michael.
Yep.
Can you go outside the car again and show how the car is going over a hill the crest that's going through turn 2. Because like part of the upshift for the elevation change is either to get the car shifted up before it goes over the crest so that you can be getting on throttle, or shifting up so that you can be on the throttle after the crest, depending on how shit the line was, so that you're rolling down. But a lot of that like understeer a lot of folks get when they pop off is because they get on the throttle too early, and then they drive up on the curb, and then it throws them off.
Yeah, that curb could be unbalance the car really easily there. So let's go slowly, a little bit slower.
Yeah, actually, if you could go to F1 and go right behind it, like directly behind it. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that one. Because it looks flat, but that is not flat.
No.
That is going downhill. Like the entire exit is gradiating downhill.
Yeah. Because he's going down, yeah.
Yeah. That's not flat at all.
No, it's not. The curve is
Kind of like the roller coaster effect I talked to you guys about, where you're going over a hill, and when you do, the back end gets light, and that's where the back end spins out on you.
yeah. Like I always think of this curve like it's like for me riding the wave. So you just try to glide on it, just tricky smooth, but it is pretty high on top here. So you have the cars could be really easy on balance here, losing the rear easily here. Happen a lot. And if you lose the rear, you could easily get wide on the exit. So yeah, be careful on this one. And Paul Ricard is known for track limit during a race. We'll probably guaranteed to see drive through because that trying to push, and they are really strict, especially here. So this is one place, and we'll get to the other just a little bit further. Okay, coming here. So what I want to do, my brake marker is like the 100-meter board again. So same thing as turn 1. That's what I'm going to use, and want to put the car as far left as possible. So I'll be on the blue stuff for the left tire. Right tire will be close to the white line. Let's go here. We'll get to the braking point here, just before the 100-meter board. You see car again, similar to turn 1, but just on the left this time. So it's a similar type of corner. So we have right and left pretty quickly. So at exit of turn 3, I will want to stay in the middle, so I could have a better exit, but we don't have a long straight after that. But we'll still do the same thing. We'll go slowly, braking, starting to turn the car a bit, and I want to aim at the same thing just before the yellow sausage that we have here. That I want to have my tire just before that. Gonna release the brake, let the car turn, get to the apex here. Same thing, pillar over there is pretty much your apex. So you want to go put your tire as close as possible here. Again, here you could do it a bit wider than, like, example turn 1, because we're going to use the inside curve. So again, here you don't really want to touch those. You want to have your left tire like down here. You don't want to go, you could go there, but you want to put your left tire down here. So you have, when you get to this part of here, so your left tire will scrub on the curb around there and just give you an extra bit of grip to make the turn. So let's go from the outside. You could see it. Then just dive inside the curb, put the tire down, staying there. See, there's gonna grab like a bit, give you an extra bit of just a rotation to finish. When you get to the next corner, here will be a middle of the track, but you still see the black mark that is going far left here. you don't need to go that far to make the next corner, since we only have like this small park here. Going left to try to have a good exit here, you're not gonna gain time because it's like almost no time here. You need to lift back. Around here, you're gonna lift to make the corner, and then you'll be on full throttle for the long straight. But from here, you'll see it. I'm not even gonna go close. I'll be like here and then cut on the curb. I'm like a car, almost like two. I don't even want to go that far. You don't need to. And if you go that far on a race, it looks like you open the door a lot for someone to dive in here. So keep it tighter. Then here, I'm gonna go closer. So some car, I'm not sure with 1.9, but some car before 1.9 was getting upset here going down to this part. It was a little bit bumpy, but I don't know how it is now. So imagine it should be fine for most of the car. I could do it in the McLaren. Usually this one is better on the curb than the previous one, but I think all car might be good now to do this line. Just continue. And we'll use again your exit. You don't want to exit wider than that. If you go wider, the white line again, it will be a track cut. I'm going to prepare, and this for this exit. This corner is really crucial to gain or lose a lot of time during that long straight that's coming for you. So what I will do here, instead I see it already starting to lift, so I'm going to do a lift. Here I shift to third. I was trying that with the McLaren, but other car, what I was doing before was staying in second, so I just second lift, go back. I saw some video that was doing this for the McLaren, and I just tried it, and it seems to work. But if you stay in second or you go a short foot three, it still be a lift at the same place. It's nothing different. So a lift, and you'll be back full throttle, and this will be like until the end of the straight. So we'll go back to that section. So when you get here, 100-meter boards, your braking reference. Tap the brake here, back to the throttle, and tap again. It's more than a tap this one. And get a lift and back. So what I do for the lift, like you can see on the left the end of the curve, so just a little bit after that, that's where I'm going to lift. I'm going to lift here, and you could use the Audi sign, so when the Audi sign or the orange tire will be in front of you, it could be a good place to start to being back on throttle. So yeah, the only question on that section of the track before going to like sector 3. Okay, let's continue. And here you'll see I'm cutting here, cut the corner, just to have less steering as possible. It's fine to use it here, just be careful on the exit. So we have those, again, same marker that we have in turn 1. If you touch those, your light will invalidate. If you cross the line here, like I cross it here. This is not a track. See, I'm over the line here, and this is fine. They didn't invalidate my lap for this because you need to be back on the track before those board here. You could even go if you want. You could go touch the wall here, come back before this, and your lap will still be valid. So here, just get back on the track. Every time it's pretty much the same play. You have turn 1, exit of turn 2, yeah, this one at the end of the straight, and another corner a little bit later. So it will be go back to the track before that point. So continue. See, coming back, not gonna touch it. I have plenty of time to go back on track here, so you should be fine. To have your lap here. So now we have that long straight that's taking forever, but at this play, if you need to do a chain for your pit or anything, this is the straight. You have plenty of time to change your tire pressure because you did something wrong the first stint, and adjust your fuel or anything. So you have a lot of time during this straight. And as you can see, I'm not rushing to get back on the left quick. It's just during the straight. I don't want to move the steering much because I don't want to skip speed. So you just place the car and go slightly to the left. You have plenty of time, but that's if you're doing like a solo lap. Someone is behind you, following you, want to pass, because Paul Ricard, you're gonna get a lot of draft here. You might want to stay on the right to preserve the inside for the next corner, but that's always depends on race to race, on case to case. So. Okay, coming this corner, I think it's turn 8. So you want to put your car as much left as possible because you want to open the corner as much as possible. It's such a fast corner. And what you do here, you tap the brake and you'll get on throttle really soon. After that, you get back on full throttle. It's way safer to do this corner full throttle than off throttle because you're carrying so much speed. If the rear get loose, you're gonna lose the rear completely and swing on the barrier on the other side. So it'll be scary at the first. So maybe you'll have to brake more here, but get on throttle to make the rest of the corner. So if you're not comfortable to do it just a tiny tap, just brake a little bit more, but get back on throttle. So we'll see, like my marker for here, I'm using the beginning of the curve just in front, so I'm already tapping the brake, downshift in this car, downshift 1 gear, and then tap, downshift, back, full throttle.
It's all over the place.
So a bit later I was. We'll do it one for full speed after just to see the speed of the tap. Again, here you could go wider than the wide line. You just need to get back on the track before those 3 markers that are in front of me right now. So I'm coming back to it. So it's fine. So let's go back and we'll watch it full throttle and take a look at throttle, brake, and steering input. So even though it's a fast corner, you don't want to turn like more than 90 degrees. It's really rare that I will turn the steering more than 90 degrees. You should be able to do pretty much all of them instead, maybe some hairpins. Like last corner here, I think I just a bit more or really close to 90. So you can see the tab and back on throttle is really fast here, so you could carry a lot of speed through that corner when you get the confidence. in the car and you're in the field of the track.
Michael, could you replay that one more time?
Yep. Do you want from inside?
Yeah, from inside.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. Is there any question on that corner specifically? Go take a look at your replay for this corner. If you think you're doing it slow, go take a look at your replay. That's the only way you will be able to tell. If you go to like right now, I'm 236 minimum. If you go 225, you're still good. But if you go like 215, like 20 kilometers less than that, you're probably way too slow. If you're not exiting the corner like here, if you not even go on the curve, that's you're not carrying enough speed. That means you could go on throttle way sooner than you did, so you could carry more speed to the corner. If you go too wide, that means you're going on throttle too early and you carry too much speed. So go take a replay for this corner.
Can you go through fifth gear in all cars with that?
I think so. Some car might like to stay in 6. I think I was talking with Zach and said the Audi like it more in 6. Probably most car will don't shift to 5.
At this point, experimenting wouldn't be a bad thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think I usually in fourth gear through there, so I'm way too slow.
Check your speed. So if you're like 210, you're probably too slow. So that means you could probably stay. If you go in 4, you might be able to stay in 5. Take the speed will not lie. Like gear could change between car, but the speed will be very similar. Now, getting to I think it's turn 9. So we're getting to the section of the track where pretty much all the corner that's coming are really late apex, and it's a really complex, really technical corner to do it right. This one, next, almost the entire sector, this one is really hard to nail those corners. There are late apex, you need to be patient when you're gonna get back on throttle. We'll see. We'll go slowly to this one and let's see what I mean. So, just going back a bit. What I'm using here for my braking reference for the next corner is this light post on the right. This one. So, when you're inside, you could see it on the right side. So that's my reference for me. And this corner is really tricky because we are going to get, let's go forward. We need to turn the car, still be on the brake. And here, one important thing, you want to go, we saw that the curve was pretty flat here, Paul Ricard, but this one, if I go downstairs, because we're getting here pretty fast, it seems to unsettle my car like really easy if I go there. So for this corner, I don't want to go there. I just want to be on the white line at max at the apex. So you see, still starting to turn the car, and still a long way to the turn. So I'm still on the brake. Then I'm gonna release it really fast, and then I'm gonna coast. And take a look at the throttle input and the brake. So you'll see like a 10% of throttle, 10% of brake. I'm just playing with both of my feet to try to keep the cars going like the arc that I want to do to the corner. So I want to, from here, I want to let the car go on the left. You can see, play a bit of the throttle, let it drift on the left. And then here, when you get here, it's going to turn a bit more and back on throttle to get on your apex that here will be your apex. And then just use all the track on the exit. White line is your track limit here. So you don't have the board, but if you cross the white line here, it's another play that's easy to invalidate a lap through the turn. So I'll go one more time for that turn, but we'll take a look from the top view. Got, I think, see the black rubber mark on this one is pretty good. So you want to go like to the edge and then cut back for the exit. So,
Big cheap, you know.
so as you can see cars coming first here, and just let it drift and be patient on throttle, patient. And when you get the grip back here, then you get back full throttle. Let's try it one more time with full speed. Any question for this corner?
Bring a dish.
Okay, let's continue. Richie, could you put it on push to talk? We just hear your music.
You look like a movie. You sound like a soul. My God.
Right, I'm gonna continue. It's coming to, I guess, turn 10. So you want to get as far right as you could before you make to a corner. As you could see, going right. And my braking reference, it's you have the orange cone that it's there, but that can be moved. So using the curb on the left, between the other layout, just a pointy here. So that's what I'm using from one end. On the inside, this rubber mark is a little bit off for not this part, but you could see. Let's go slowly. You'll see I'll be more on the left than the rubber. See, it's going. The rubber mark is going way much on the right, but I'm keeping it tighter there. So I'm gonna brake here, and then I'm gonna cut back on the rubber. See from here, and then I'll be just coasting and get back full throttle. Your apex will be here. So similar to the last corner, again, you need to be patient. It's not as long as the other one, like play on the brake or throttle, but it's still late apex. Be patient, car turn, then back full throttle. And those small board again are your track limit, so you don't want to touch those on the exit. You could go on the curb. Curb is safe to use, but just don't touch it. You see, I'm not even close. I could be even closer than that, but don't really need to. On the curb is fine to use for this exit of the corner. Alright, here what I want to do, I want
Mike?
to... Yep.
Could you show that corner from above?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks. I just want to see your line going into it.
Yep. So,
That's definitely from above.
Yeah, yeah. You can go a little closer if you want to do, but that's okay. You can just go right above the car and follow the car, which is if it's up to you. Beauty. Awesome. Thanks.
yep, no problem. So, coming to next corner, what I want to do here, right here, still not on the brake, but I already placed the car so I could brake in a straight line as much as possible. So I'm over the curve, right wheel will be on the second part of the curve on the right, and see if I go just a tiny bit further, I'm going to straight up the wheel and get on the brake. There. So just tiny bit, like the end of the curve. It's my braking reference for this one. So get in there, trying to straight the wheels. Still turn it a bit, not much. And then again, it will be a late apex. So you want to hit like first here, release the brake. I think I keep it pretty tight for this one, but if you go, you'll let the car go a bit here, like from around this point, it's fine. That should be there. On this lap was probably a bit too tight on it. And at the end of it, where the apex is like way farther again, where you have the darker patch here, this will be your apex. You get back on throttle a bit to prepare for the last corner. Then try to keep it left. You don't want to, if you drift, again, you're going two corner really fast, one to each other, so close to each other. So compromise the first one to have a better exit on the last corner here, because we have the straight after that, so you will gain more time
Michael,
on the speed. Yep.
sorry to interrupt. Could you do another top down of that corner as well?
Yep, we'll do it. I'm just gonna finish this one and we'll go.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks.
So for this corner, for braking reference, I don't really have one I'm using. It's just by feel. There's no like cone or anything that we use on the previous. There's no board. There's this small patch here that it could be hard to see when driving. So this one for me is more like a feel when to brake. If someone has something they use, you could share it. But for me, it's really just by feel. And there I'm gonna get on the brake, starting to turn the car. Your apex will be close to that orange. And for this last corner, you don't want to go on the curve. This one is a bit more aggressive than the other one. So you can see, similar to turn 2, it's even probably a little bit more aggressive. So you want to stay on the white line. You want to be close to it, but don't touch it. You could just bumps the car a bit, trigger to AC, and just losing time on the straight right after that. Turn, just be right beside the curb, not touching it. Then back full throttle. Again, your exit. You don't want to go too much on those yellow, because you need to get back on the track and not touch those boards. So just go the second part like here, like I did here. Will give you the best exit. You jump on those curves. It's not really fun. Let's take a look at that corner too, from the above. Like here, you could drift a little bit, drift a bit there. If you drift a bit more, it will be fine. This will be your lap at Paul Ricard. So just one more thing. So the
Is that over a bridge?
Hmm?
Is that final corner over a bridge?
yeah, here there's a bridge to go
Oh,
to the
no
track.
way. Ah, crazy.
So pit lane, you need to commit to the pit lane before you don't want to cross. Like in NASRS, we are not allowed to cross the line, like coming here, trying to get more speed and then crossing the line. This is not allowed, so you need to commit to the pit lane as it's market. And what I'm going to use for braking reference, I think it's the beginning of the curve here. What I'm using to get back in first gear, and then I'm safe to cross this line and be on the pit limiter.
Notice how soon the pit limiter is right after the curve.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that some of you guys may not be paying attention to while we're doing these, because if you don't recognize where that line is, you will get a speeding penalty when you come out.
And one thing, if you have your pit box, it's like one of the first one. Be careful. I think I saw in the past. Maybe now it's less strict, but because this dip here, some people pass like here and it's dipping quite a bit. You could speed up and get a pit drive through because of that. So be careful not cutting too much there to try to gain time, because of this drop, you could give it.
Also, too, like, just practice pit stops.
Yeah.
Like, just drive into the damn pit. Like, do it more than one time.
Yeah.
I've seen people that were following too close get knocked into the pits from behind from the guy following them. They got to slow down for the pits, and then it's such a sharp turn. Somebody whacks them from behind, and they get busted for speeding because they got pushed through in the pits faster than they thought they were going to enter.
And then you have your exit here. It's right after the light. If the board get pushed out somehow. So be careful on pit exit. When during the race, you have the right to be here. If you exit in the pit, if there's a car coming behind you, you need to leave your space. This is your space on pit exit. He's not allowed to come here like I did in the beginning of the lap, to be here, because this is your space until you get to this point. So you need to give space to the car that's coming during the race. If it's a qualification, you come out of the pit, someone's coming on hot lap, just keep it like here, give space to the car that's trying to set up a lap for quali, just for the respect, so we're not trying to cut anyone, but during the race, this will be your space. Is anyone have any question on any corner that it would like to see something back, anything on the track?
Yeah, could I get like an aerial shot of pretty much like just your line through sector 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like 5.
And after you do that, Simran, I have a question for you.
Okay.
You went and stepped in it.
Okay, Simran.
So,
So my question is, what did you notice in his aerial view of this lap?
so I was mainly looking for his track limits and how far wide he was. Um, I was noticing that was in terms of the whole our this whole whatchamacallit class that we just did. My sector one is nothing compared to his. I'm very much not like what I thought was track limits. I probably had like another car length's worth. So I was just wanting to see how far or wide he can take his car.
Now I have a second follow-up question. How are you going to experiment about finding track limits in a functionally useful way?
More so, I would say I want to take I'd go into like a single player and kind of go at a slower a slower pace, but then taking my car and trying to mimic this line.
Mm.
It's my
Another
approach.
another question. Another question. Why single
Mhm.
player and not the qualifying server if you're trying to qualify?
Because I'm going at a slower pace, don't want to interrupt anyone.
Well, I mean, that's just you paying attention.
Okay. I just thought I'd do it in single player.
Nah, but yeah, but the grip's different and the temperature is different and the lateral load feels different. And like, why practice for a different environment that is different from what you're going to actually try to do it in?
That's fair. You make sense.
Yeah, usually it's not too busy.
Yeah, I mean,
one thing that Larry taught me way back when it was Generation 604 is I literally he had me park my car on the track as close to the line or, as far as possible, and then go inside the car and then visually see where that line bisects somewhere on my dashboard. So I can visually have a reference on my dashboard. Okay, when that line hits this dashboard, I'm as far to the right as I can possibly go. That line is on this part of the dashboard. This is as far left as I can possibly go. And I just kind of keep those reference points on my dash, so I can, if I can kind of give an idea if I'm getting close to the edge or not.
I think your replay is also a huge tool that most people aren't using, right? So when you're doing a lap and you invalidate, actually look at where the car invalidates. Slow the replay down, go to the exterior cam, and wait to see where the car drives all four wheels off. And then ask yourself, where did the car have to be at the beginning of the corner to end up there on the exit? Typically, when you run off on track limits, it's simply because you've started too narrow. So if you just go backwards through the corner and see where the car started when it turned, you'll normally notice that you're not wide enough. And so it'll help you start to identify, like, where do I need to make an active change to my line in order to get the outcome that I'm trying to get. Because watching him just drive over track limits, I mean, is a first step to this, but being able to replicate it is more important. And so if you don't have a process to be able to systematically, first of all, make the errors to figure out where the limit is, and then replicate the car's positioning so that you can get all the way up to the edge and like understand why you're being penalized for driving over, you're literally just wasting your time doing laps. You're just driving on the track limits, not knowing if you were an inch over or a mile over, and it'll be a luck if you get 3 in a row without doing it.
Okay.
One of the important things too that Davin was saying earlier, Saran, is that I was practicing before I qualified, just in the computer, just in the game itself. Then I came to the track and I practiced. Then I thought, okay, I'm good. Let's go and do some laps. The track in the online on the server reacts is so different than the one in the game. It's amazing that, because the car was gripping up way different in the one in the game. And that's one point I think Davin's trying to make. The other one was, then I came out to the track and practiced, and I happened to run into 2 or 3 other guys that helped me race a little better. Like they were seeing my lines, and they said, "Hey, Brian, did you try this or try that?" Like, it's just as simple as going into the chat. And sometimes some people see something that you just don't see by going around the track 1,000 times and, hey, I thought I had it right. And then someone pointed out, hey, try this, try this, try this. And hey, I've gained a whole almost, 8/10 a lap just by trying out what they said. And that's why we want you to, that's why Davin and those guys say, hey, come to the server, come to the practice, because you learn so much.
Ding, 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 5 points, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? The biggest thing that most folks overlook, and I have this problem too, this is why I have to work with other folks, is are the things I don't see, right? Every time I think I see everything, there's something that I've missed. And so when I'm working with somebody else, even if they're just looking at my line or following me or whatnot, it's easy to get a different point of view, so that accelerates my learning curve to get there, right? Also, if I'm in the same conditions is what I'm going to be qualifying in or racing in. And online is different than single player. And I'm going to say this till I'm blue in the face. You're going to have to do a reset every time you change between online and single player, because online script evolves over the session depending on cars and all these other things that single player does not do because it is fixed. So you're screwing yourself by spending a lot of time on single player, because we've all seen bad driving. Your bad driving is nothing new to us. Let us help you. Right? You'll just get there quicker.
No, makes sense.
Anything else?
Quick question.
Yep.
I see. I don't remember the guy's name. I'm sorry. You're running straight up to T1, and you're all the way over on the right. Now, during the race, are we even allowed to go that far over? I understand that the pit exit is not ours. It's for people coming out the pit. Now, if there's no one there, is that okay to go that wide, or should we avoid that lane even during the race?
No, it's there, so you could use it. It's no track limit, so you just need to be careful when someone exiting the pit, he's have priority over you. But during a race, if you want to be there, and if you know one close to you to attack, yeah, use it. That's the fastest lane.
Can I, once I pass him, if he's on his exit, because I'm already at my optimum speed approaching T1, once I pass him, I can cut over and take the line and go around?
If you have the space enough, you need to be careful to not get in front of him. And you don't want
Michael, from this position, can you back up far enough that we can see the actual end of the pit wall? Just reverse a little bit.
There's also the risk of you're adding more feet to the corner because you're going away from the corner and then going back.
All right, so right about here is technically would be the latest that you could consider somebody still being in the pits at the end of the wall. But remember, they're going to be accelerating out past this line. Okay, we're at 49K to the line. From the line, it's from there, it's going to be higher from there. You'll be able to notice that there's cars moving through the pit lane. You can look at your map to determine if there's dots coming slowly down the pit lane along the front straightaway. So you have to use a lot of common sense here. The other thing, too, is remember, the line turns out to the middle of the track here, further beyond the point of the pink and white. So that is their free lane. So once somebody is beyond the white line here, as in, the pit limiter, once the pit limiter's off, it's all theirs from here all the way down to where he was sitting before. So you have plenty of time to judge what's going to happen here. Now, if there are several people in the pit lane and coming out at the same time, it behooves you to stay outside the white line and not get a penalty, because if we see that you do cross the line, you will end up with a penalty for the qualifying of for the next race, because you have gone beyond the limits and possibly cut somebody off or run up into the back of somebody who has just barely gotten to the end of the exit. So that's one of the things you have to be careful of. If you know that there's somebody in pit lane, just take the safe space and stay outside the line. That would be really the easiest way to do it.
I've also got another leading question for you. It's a two-part question. So part one is, where do you brake on the ideal racing line when you're going into turn one?
Start braking just before the end of it, or at the that where that turn is.
All right, try a little more specifically than that, because that's very vague. Just before the turn is like what the.
Now, okay, so you see the pink and white curbing on the left side of the track. You want to start braking right about there after
Okay.
you pass. I think it's like the second or third cone, that which the cones are on the right. You want to start braking there, which is just at the end or just before the end of the pit lane.
Okay. Yep. So the second part of my question is, where do you brake if you don't cross into the pit lane?
We see that I'll be honest with you. That's one of them lines I try to practice and I never get right because I know that's a part of the game also. Because you can't. There's always going to be. I shouldn't say there's always going to be. That is a possibility of someone coming out of the pit lane. So for me, I would say I'm going to brake earlier.
Yep.
That's a perfect answer.
That's a perfect answer.
That's the word I was waiting on.
That's where we were heading, right? So anytime you are off the optimum line, you have to brake earlier, right? So if you're trying to find a place to brake, take your late braking marker that you would be on the racing line, which is the latest the car can slow down before making the corner, and start moving it backwards. And then as you do laps, find an earlier braking marker for when you don't cross into the pit lane line. Because that's what's going to save you between knowing what to do and what not to do, right? Because if I'm coming out of the pits and you're coming out of the final corner and you can't enter my space and you don't know where to brake, you're fucked every single time a car comes out of the pits. So that sucks. Like, that really generally sucks. The more cars in the race, the more opportunities you're going to be screwed. So you should practice knowing both places so that if you can't use that space, you can still commit to the corner at the fastest speed of the available space that you have to use. That doesn't require you to cut over, mess up all your timing, and then miss the apex on the other side.
Well, that jams me up every now and then with Paul Ricard. I'm not even going to lie because there's a lot of accident on this track.
Yep.
Going into turn one.
Yep. Because people didn't do what I said. Right? They're off the racing line and they're braking as late as they would on the racing line, which is literally not how any of this works. And they hit shit. So anytime you can actively drive offline and practice braking to make the corner, the more aware you're going to be when you're around a bunch of other cars. Because if you're not on the outside of the track, you're not on the line, which should be a big red flag to you of, I need to get on the brakes early. And then you're less likely to miss all the shit, right? So that's why I ask, because most people they're gonna try to do what you first described, and they're gonna fuck themselves over, right? They're gonna try to race all the way down to the end of the pit lane line. They're gonna try to cut all the way over to the left with no real time left, so they're gonna be facing the wrong way. They're gonna get on the brakes either too late and miss the corner anyway because they've already missed the braking point because they didn't give themselves enough time, or too early and not recognize that they're too early, and then just sit there like driving over the curbs on either side because they didn't really have a plan for either scenario. They just kind of dove in the corner at full speed and guessed. And that's what gets them in trouble. Yeah, let's not be old you. Old you does not sound fun.
No, I've learned. I'm still learning. So
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, side note. Sorry, Michael. One other thing I'm going to put on that. That approach can be applied everywhere. So any track, any corner, anywhere. What I said about braking early when you're not on the optimal line is a tactic you should use, especially here because it's really easy to not be online because you're just around other cars or you missed the apex or you screwed up. And so you need to be aware like when you're off the line and have an earlier braking point just to get the car slowed down. Of like, I'm not in the right space, got to slow down, right? And that'll help you gather up a lot more laps so the variability isn't so big. Because a lot of folks like they'll miss it into 4 and they'll be in the middle of the damn road and then they'll try to brake late and the car misses the corner because it was never going to stop there to begin with. It's because they don't recognize early enough that they're not in the right place and they drive right past it. And that's why they hit stuff because they're not prepared.
Yeah, this pit exit is tricky, so be careful. See if someone is coming out, just stay safe. Don't go.
But 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 12, 13, all the same thing. All the same thing,
Yeah.
right?
Is there any other question or anything you would like to see back?
Come on, guys. There's got to be somebody who wants to know something. Half of you are muted, so you're talking to yourselves.
You got 2 points. She made the Canadian laugh.
Actually, I was going to say something too. Is about that pit. He was worried about the pit line and crossing it if someone's coming out of the pits. You look at Michael's speed. He's doing 237 kilometers an hour. There's a guy just at that pit line when you're there. I wouldn't worry about him at all because you just blew by him at 230 and he's only doing 50.
Yeah.
So it all depends on his positioning and how many cars are coming out. Sometimes crew chief helps a lot, tells you somebody's exiting and that. But yeah, pay attention to that exit because if a guy's just right there, I don't even worry about him. I just go straight to the same line because there's no way he can get up beside me that fast. He'd have to go from 50 to 200, you know.
I will say on the other side, though, that if you are coming down the straight and you see someone going down the pit lane exit line, that early break point we talked about will be a lifesaver.
Yes.
Right? Because you don't want to try to beat him to the end as he's trying to accelerate. His braking point is going to be somewhere completely different from any other lap he's on. Right?
Yeah.
And if you get into his path, he can drive right in the back of you because you just basically cut him off. Right? So you want to just stay on the line you're on, brake early, and just turn and never interfere with him at all.
Exactly. Yep. Yep. One thing to remember too, Neil, is the brake marker things are on both sides of the track, right? So pay attention.
But the guy that just said that you're doing 200 whatever kilometers, Larry just said once he's in that box, that line, that box, it's all his.
Right.
I know the speed. I'm going to be going faster, right? So the whole idea is to just avoid that lane once there's a car in there, because then.
Oh, for sure.
But then, if you cut over, even though you're way past them, that's a penalty. Like he said, no.
If you hit someone when they're in that space,
that's what I meant. I'm sorry.
You
I
basically
wasn't clear.
you basically just crash into somebody in handicap parking. Like, why would you do that? So, if they're in their safe space and you enter their safe space and murder them, that is entirely your fault. But if you're clear of them, you're clear of them. You can do what you want. It's just you got to think about the impact to your actions when you do that. Like, is it worth it to dive back onto the race line to then just immediately brake and turn with poor accuracy? No. Most of the time, I'll say no. Right? Because often when you're alone, you've had all this time down the straightaway to get all the way over to the right. Your car's already settled. It's only braking in a straight line and easy to be accurate. In a situation where you have to cut over, you have to go right, brake, and then go back left again. You are likely to fuck that up. So just stay on the line that you're on, brake early, and turn left. Reduce the amount of work you have to do, and then wait till the next lap to see if you can actually use the full racing line. You're not going to lose that much time. You're more likely to fuck up and lose way more time just completely mangling that whole complex.
Yeah, don't hit them in their safe space. That's not
Well, don't hit them in their safe space and don't fuck your own lineup. Right?
Don't hit him.
That's the other bit. Is that a lot of folks will all of a sudden be like, oh, I'm just going to cut over and I'll get back on the race line and do the exact same lap I was doing before. You were not doing the same lap as you were before. You started moving over at a different point of the racetrack because there was a car in that space. That line and lap is different. So you've got to approach it differently.
I also wanted to give a heads up to those guys that don't practice their pit entry on this track. That little pit flag or pylon or whatever that thing is called, the marker, that gets knocked out a lot because it's right on the entrance. People just kind of slide into it. So know where that line is because that marker will not be there, most likely.
Also, be familiar with the UI as you leave the pits, because there's a whole bunch of UI changes that happen when you leave the pit on pit limiter. The MFD changes, the flags will come up, a few other items. So even if you don't know the line, you should know what all the UI says when you cross the line, and that'll also tell you when you can come off the limiter.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect plan for dealing with the robbery. But there are
Michael, did we do it?
What?
Did we do it? Are we done? Did we do it?
Yes, we did.
Yay!
Yeah.
We did it.
No other question.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you, Mr. Michael.
No
Thanks for
problem.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mike. It's fantastic.
time and effort. I appreciate it.
Thank you.